Hey everyone, it's just me and my husband today, Mike Riddell, and we wanted to come on here and give you a little solo cast. We have been doing a lot of work around clarity, getting clear about our goals, our fitness, our relationship, and where we're going together in life. We don't want to just do two separate circles. We want to be doing one circle together. And that doesn't mean that we can't do two different things, but it means that we are on the same path together and we are clear on what that looks like. And for those of you that may be struggling in your relationship, or maybe you're struggling to figure out like what's the next step for you, or how do you get out of a difficult situation, I think this episode is going to be really good for you. So, babe, welcome to Life Without Secrets.
Thank you for having me back on. Must be pretty good if you keep inviting me back.
All right. Actually, I think some of our favorite episodes are with us together. So, I think we need to do more of these.
Mm,
Don't
okay.
you?
I think so.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah. So I think we're going to be throwing in some more. Last year, if you're just coming to the show, if you go back, we've had this episode or this podcast for 2 years now. And so if you're just joining us, make sure you go back towards the beginning. Mike and I share our story, some of the really big struggles we've had in our relationship, and some strategies that we let you guys in on. And we are going to not share too much of our story here, so you can go back and listen to that. But make sure you go back and they're really like short episodes, like 20 minutes. And if you go back like February of what was that,
Mm,
23?
yeah.
It starts there around Valentine's Day, and you can just catch us for like months at a time when we were doing 2 episodes a week. So go ahead and look back at that. So today we're going to talk to you about clarity, like I said. And this is clarity is really key. If we're not clear about where we are right now, we'll never be clear about what it looks like of where we're going. We need a clear path. We need a clear vision. We need clear action steps in order to get to our goals. Right, babe?
That's right.
Yeah. So I want to talk about where we were at and why we're talking about this. So, this year has been a very busy year for us. I was building my course, I have the podcast, I'm still working as an ER nurse. I was doing speaking, I'm writing, I'm playing all these roles, and not only that, but I'm also a mom, right? I have 3 children, and back in May, my oldest son graduated high school, which ended up being like really emotional for me. And I talked about that, I think, on another episode, but I had a lot of emotions happening in my head, and I had so many thoughts and so many different roles I was playing. And I felt kind of a little bit confused on like where I should really be spending my time and my energy. And I didn't feel like I knew where I was, and I didn't feel like I knew the clear steps of like where we wanted to go
Hmm.
together. And I mean, we do exercises quite often because just because you do something once, it doesn't mean that you're clear about, it even next month, right? Because things change, people change, our goals change. And so really taking a step back and getting clear again, I think is really key to continue that growth. Okay. Even if you maybe have an action plan, but you're feeling stuck or you're not sure, like you need a bigger perspective. Maybe your perspective is narrow, whether that's in your relationship or your business or what have you. And so I want to talk about when we did our clarity sessions.
Hmm.
I'm going to ask you like, okay, well, how did you feel about those?
Right away, before I'm the kind of person that, okay, what's this going to look like?
Mhm.
And I was kind of nervous going into them. I was like, what is this going to look like? And the one sincere emotion that I felt after going through it was, wow, Mike, I wish I knew that this is what you wanted. Because I've really been at this business life
Mhm.
doing our things, but not like really understanding the connection as far as what we wanted together. And we
Mhm.
knew obviously our paths are going this direction. We're going to end up here, but it gave me a lot of clarity on how we can do it more together.
Mhm.
Right. And not to say, like you said, you're doing what I'm doing or I'm doing what you're doing. It's more of like us doing it together and getting clarity. Okay, how does that look? All right. If that means that you got to put your head down and work for 5 or 6 days, but hey, I need Sundays, or hey, this is what we have to do to get real clarity. So The answer for me was I feel great coming out of it, and I'm looking forward to our next one, which is pretty soon.
Yeah. So I'm just going to educate you guys on the first step that I take. So I run a couples course for relationships, and you can find more about that on my website. Just go to lifewithoutsecrets.com and click on courses. But I teach this first exercise in my course, and I also talk about it a lot on podcasts because I think it's something that like everybody needs to do, everybody needs to know. And so when we first start on our clarity sessions, it's the first thing that we walk through together. And so I'm going to have you just do it right now. So go ahead and get out a piece of paper. I want you to put your paper into three different columns. And I want you to label the first column stressor. The second column is going to be the emotional response to the stressor. So that's going to be naming an emotion. And then the third column is going to be what do I do now in response to that stressor? And when we say stressor, many people are going to think that it's the people in their life, the situations that they're in, the challenges that they're facing that is the cause of the stress in our life, or that is draining our batteries, right? Stress is different than a stressor. And the thing that is causing us to be stressed, which is a negative emotion, is it's not necessarily the person or the situation that is draining our battery. It's the emotion behind it. Does that make sense to you, what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
think you should give them a couple of, like, maybe 1 or 2 explanations or a couple
Okay, so
examples.
my favorite example is to give a situation because I think this is something we can all relate to. Let's say you're at a stoplight and you're behind two cars and it's only 2-lane road, okay? We're at the stoplight and you are in a huge rush. You just got yelled at by your boss. You're late for your child's soccer practice. You haven't eaten all day. You need to be paying those bills that are late, right? You're feeling stressed, right? All these things are on top of you and you're at the stoplight and the stoplight turns green and the cars in front of you going, but they're going at like the same pace. And you're in a hurry and you're feeling really stressed out right now. And you can't get around them because they're going at the same speed. So your heart rate is racing. You're getting angry. You're super frustrated about these two cars in front of you that you can't get around. And so you're just building and building and building. And pretty soon you're yelling from your car. You're flipping people off, even maybe, right? If you're really frustrated.
Tell me how you really feel, Jill.
Like I'm just giving an example of what happens,
Right,
right? Like we've all been in those situations where like really people,
right.
right? And you're stressed, right? And there's all these negative emotions. You're angry, you're frustrated, just overwhelmed, you have anxiety, you're worried. All this negativity is creeping in. Okay? Now, we're going to be in the same situation but different circumstances. So, we're at this red light. There's the two cars in front of us and you're having a great day. Your kid just made a goal at soccer and she feels so good about it. You just got a raise at work. You and your husband are going on a date night that night and you're good. Like you have all these positive emotions. You feel content. You feel so proud of yourself and your
It's
child.
Friday.
It's Friday. Right? And you're behind these 2 cars and the light turns green and they're going the same speed, right? Same situation, but you're like, don't even notice. You're like, "Oh, life is good,"
We'll get
right?
there when we get there.
We'll get there when we get there. No big deal. So, is it the situation or is it the emotion behind the situation that is causing you to be stressed? Okay? So, think about that for a minute and really ask yourself the question and do we have the ability to see a different perspective? Okay? So back to our exercise here. So we are going to have the stress loads or the stressors isn't column 1, column 2 is the emotional response and then column 3 is what you do now. The stressor can be anything. It can be our workload. We're going to dump our brains, okay? Our brains are full of a lot of clutter. And we need to identify what are the things that are like the stressors in our life right now. Is it workload? Is it computer problems? Is it traffic? Is that what's stressing you out? Is it traffic? Is it money to pay your bills? Is it job security? Is it something going on in your family? Is it you say yes to so many things and you really want to say no? Is it your teenager? Is it because you are feeling bad because you haven't done the workout that you said you were going to do?
Is it that relationship that you are just so fed up with?
Yeah. Is it the lack of time? Is it your housework? Is it your extra long to do list?
Whoa, to-do list. I know somebody that does a to-do list.
I love to do lists, by the way. And then next to that column, so I want you to just take some time, go through what are those things that are causing you to feel what we quote unquote say stressed. Okay. The next column is the emotional response. So go to Google. Okay. Type in 100 lists of emotions. And I want you to look at that paper and go down each stressor and identify the actual feeling that you feel. Okay. It's not, you don't pick just one thing, but like really look at that paper and have some vocabulary for the stressor in your life. What is it causing? Is it causing overwhelm? Is it causing anxiety? Is it causing avoidance? Do you feel avoidant? Do you feel inadequate? Do you feel aggravated? Do you feel rejected? What is the emotion that you feel? We need to put some words to this, or we're never going to get to how we feel and what we need. Okay. Once you do that, I want you to go to the next column and I want you to write, what do I do now in response to that stressor? So if you have a extra large workload that is stressing you out and it makes you feel overwhelmed, what are you doing about it? Are you just pushing through? Is that what you do? You just push through? Do you withdraw? Do you complain? Do you rehash in your mind? Do you blame other people? What is the response? What do you do now in response to that stressor in your life? Okay. And so the first
Do
step
you
to,
clam up? Do you start eating? Do you
yeah,
eat
yeah,
junk food?
exactly. So, what is the response? And this is about building self awareness. Like I said, we cannot get to where we want to go until we know where we are right now on a deeper level. And this is like super important because emotions are the basis for everything. Just like I explained in that situation, our perspectives change when we can release all the negative. But in order to do that, we have to know what is actually going on in our minds. And when we are in rushed energy, when we are going through our day-to-day life, we those things that those stressors are running in the background constantly. Constantly, those things are running in the background of your brain and they are draining your inner battery. And so if you are constantly saying, I'm just tired, I'm busy, maybe we should take a look at this. What are those things? And so Mike and I did this exercise. It's the first thing we do. And it's really like a brain dump, and I'll tell you what we found. And if you're on YouTube, you can see this. So, my paper, this is the beginning of July when we started doing these exercises. My paper is like front and back, another paper. I just kept writing because I had all of these things that were on my mind that were like stressors that I was feeling in my life. And Mike gets out his paper and I don't have it with me right now. But I have 30 or some odd stressors. And he comes and he's, wow, you're still going? Like he's sitting next to me as we're doing this exercise and he's, oh my gosh. And he gets out his paper and he has 8 things. And then we kind of go over what's on our plates. What are the things that are the stressors in our life that are draining our batteries? And I think what it did is it allowed us to see what each other is really dealing with. And it allowed us to have compassion for the other person in our relationship, right? So he could look at my list and go, well, you tell them.
Yeah.
What were the thoughts that came to your mind?
So I'm a helper, right? So
Yeah.
for me, it was like, oh, well, I could help with that. Okay, if the dishes or you know what I mean, oh, the kids are doing this, or it's like when I come back from a trip, like you're overwhelmed because the kids have just been pulling on you, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it's like learning those things as much as I want to come and just give you a smooch and all that stuff and get physical. It's like she needs her time apart. So it's, hey, babe, why don't you go get your nails done? And I still have to push her because you guys got that mom guilt and this and that. And it's just knowing what I can do in a situation instead of being like hearing something and not knowing what to do. So it helped me to be able to see, hey, I can help in this area or I can do this. And some of the stuff you're not going to be able to really fix, but it gives you awareness around is, oh, she's probably feeling overwhelmed. And it's same reason why we love doing these podcasts.
Mhm.
Very transparently, yes, we're both busy people, but if we don't make time to connect and talk, we won't do it. So it's like we purposely set up our morning to do our faith and our morning routine and chat with each other about the day. Even if it is 10 minutes a day, at least we do it. So it's just really understanding from that exercise. It just gives you like for me, it's like, wow, I didn't even realize how is she continuing to go with all of these things. But
That she
it's
has on her plate.
yeah, that she has on her plate. Exactly. And for
Yeah.
me, it's kind of simple. It's like I want to say simple, but it's pretty simple as far as my main stressors and the things that I'm dealing with versus the things that your spouse is dealing with. You know what I mean? And they might be simple in my head as, oh, these are the three things. But for her, she looks at them and maybe you can give your response to what mine were.
Yeah, well, I think women are more in tune with a bigger picture
Hmm.
where like we're spaghetti, right? They always say women are brain is like spaghetti and men's is like a waffle because everything in our lives is kind of like mixed together and we can see this like really big perspective and how every one thing affects the other things. Where like men can more compartmentalized. And I'm saying this as a generalization. This isn't all men or all women, but typically this is what happens. And he's able to have this like waffle type of situation where he can just, this is the stressors and they all have their own little place in his brain. And so when he wants to access one, he just pulls from that space in the waffle for just general speaking. Right.
Hmm.
And so it just allows each other to see like how his where his brain is operating and where mine is. And I think that these are both gifts, right?
Hmm.
Like for me, the ability to see it all and how one connects to the other is an advantage to seeing a bigger picture when we're making decisions, right?
Hmm.
On like our family and that kind of thing. And for him, it's good for him cuz he can see a little bit more clearly on how this one thing affects this one thing instead of it being like such a big picture and having a harder time getting to the end result, right?
Hmm.
You can make decisions quicker, I feel like,
Yeah.
because you don't have to look at it's not a spaghetti, it's a waffle.
Hmm.
And so they're both gifts. And so I totally understand your perspective and where you are from watching you do your exercise and you're watching what's the stressors in your life and also just like having the compassion for, yeah, you do have these, maybe you only have 7 or 8 things, but they're big things that
Hmm.
you're holding, financial, like these big buckets.
Hmm.
So mine might be a little bit of a smaller bucket here and
Hmm.
there. Some of them are big, but they're take a lot of energy.
Right.
Okay. So, and I think one of the lies like in relationships is that your spouse is going to meet all your needs or that like they can fix the problem. And that is a lie. I just want to speak that into everybody's ears. Like your spouse is never going to meet all your needs.
Hmm.
We're all human beings and we can't be mind readers. But what you can do is understand what is it that makes you better? What makes you feel better? What gives you those positive emotions? So the next thing we do is we figure out, well, what are the things that fill us up? What are those things that re-energize us? What are the things that we can do to create more positivity in our lives so that we can have the energy to do our action plan together? And so we do that exercise. So you get another piece of paper, you put the situation or person or event on one column, and then the other side is the emotional response. This one only has 2 columns. And you're going to go through your life and you're going to think about those situation, events, or people that spark a positive emotion, whether that's joy, being grateful, excited, loving, and go back to that list of 100 emotions. And we did that. And so made a list of those things that we could think of in that moment of what were those things that gave us those positive emotions, whether that was like meeting my babies for the first time, meeting my husband. How did I feel in that moment? I felt understood and I felt excited when I met him.
Mhm.
Finishing a podcast, I feel capable. I
Mm.
did it, right? Getting in nature, I feel calm, relaxed, healthy. Working out, that was something that like I was lacking. I mean, I was still going for walks in nature and stuff like that to keep my sanity, but I wasn't getting to my goals in my fitness area and feeling good about myself in that area or gaining energy from that part of my life at that time when I was really struggling with all of the chaos, the clutter, and the negativity before we did these exercises. And so right now, we are currently on day 12 of a program that we're doing together. And actually, we've been doing this program since we met, like
Mhm.
what, 15 years ago almost. So
We getting ripped.
yeah. So I mean, we're just like going a little bit back to the roots and like knowing our bodies can do that because we've done it many times before. We've done it this program throughout our relationship. And if you're on social media, you can see us. I'm like posting day by day little snapshots. Day 12, who's with us? It's easier when you have accountability.
Mhm.
So find us there. But working out, it made me feel optimistic. It made me feel healthy. It gave me energy, right? So that's on my list right now of what was the situation and what is their emotional response.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
So I got so many different, like, I have ADHD, meaning my brain goes really
Yes.
fast, and
Hmm.
I could literally add a million things to literally everything you just said. And I do not want to sidetrack this podcast,
No, yeah, but you should.
but no. So what's crazy about what you just said, and I think that we all have to really understand this and ask yourself the question, what voice are you hearing when you talk to your friends? And is that a friend that really, and see, this is the problem with our friends. They tell us what we want to hear, not what we need to hear.
Mhm.
Right. And this is my problem. And I'm just going to share with you guys, I'm the big dog in the room. And here's what's crazy about this. And I'm not saying that I need, and a leader needs a leader, right? And to transform our lives, the accountability that Jill just talked about, if you go back and see what I did years and years ago, it brings me back to the basics. All of this is going back to the basics. It would be like, man, I need to get in shape. So god awful, like how it sounds horrible to post this on social media and say, I'm going after this. I'm going to do 75 hard and I'm going to complete it. But I'm doing that, right? Because I am on the plane, and if the plane is going down, a lot of you guys out there and a lot of us out there, and I say me was going down, you were going down. There's times in our life where we have to grab the oxygen mask and put it on ourselves, take care of ourselves. And I think it's powerful that you're saying this because it's really going back to the basics in
Mhm.
your faith, right? What
Mhm.
does that mean? Well, are you going to church? And if you're not, are you getting a daily word? Are you getting into the Bible, right? In your fitness, are you showing up to the gym every day and at least getting a sweat because your mindset gets so much better, right? In your business, right? Are you actually going and putting in the reps? Are you calling the people, right, to be able to get the results? Are you working your metrics or your matrix to be able to get results in any area of your life? Husbands, are you taking your wife on a date night, right? Once a month or once a week or whatever that looks like for the season that you're in right now. And this is where we have to get real, but ask yourself the question, what are my friends telling me? And are my friends telling me the things that make me feel good? Yeah, you're right. The market's soft. Yeah, you can't get a sale. Or, yeah, you're right. Now you've been in marriage for 10 years and it just gets like that, bro. That's BS. And I'm going to just say this, right? Because we have a lot of people pleaser friends. I'm actually a people pleaser, but I'm getting much better at being a transformational coach. And it starts with me and what I'm hearing. And I hope that this podcast and what Jill is saying, I'm just sitting back here just loving this because we just talked about my daughter being the goalie and the leader of her team. This is like transpiration, like transfer, like everything is going throughout our family and we're watching it happen. And it's because we're taking extreme ownership in our faith, our family, our mindset, our business, right? And ultimately our relationships, because at the end of the day, you deserve to have it all. You deserve to have an incredible marriage. You deserve to have an incredible business or financially freedom. You know what I mean? Like everybody can have it in the United States, right? It's not about Trump or Biden. It's not about the separation that the world is putting us in today.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's about connection. And that's what this podcast is about, finding people to align and building these little micro circles of leaders to be able to go out and make the world a better place. So I feel just inspired because I have an accountability partner holding me
High five.
accountable. And damn, she's hot.
Oh, God.
Sorry. I love my wife
Oh
to
my
death.
gosh,
And
you're
I
so cute.
choose to be in love. I choose. It's a choice,
Yeah.
right? And this sounds great and it's peachy. Go back and listen to the episodes that we told you to listen to, and you realize, like, how did they get through that? Like the
Mhm.
little thing. It was a choice. I had to wake up and I had to reinvent. I had to use my imagination to be able to teach people, to teach myself, right? It's just powerful. So, anyways, I just
Yeah.
felt
Well, I mean, I'm glad you said that. And why are we talking about emotions? Why am I pounding this into your head? Why? Because emotions are our primary energy drainers. They will drain your energy the most out of anything else in your life. Emotions are also your primary energy drivers.
mm,
So you get to choose what emotion is going to lead you in your life. So dump the stress, okay? It's okay to have these negative emotions. It's okay to embrace those negative emotions, but then get to a place where you know what you need in response to that from your emotional playlist of those positive things we just talked about. Okay? That emotional playlist of the positive things, the emotions, the situations that bring you to have more energy, feel re-energized in your life are so important. That's a list I want you to make. It's the list I always say is like when you first got your license. This is definitely on my list, by the way, like getting my license and
mhm.
driving out of the parking lot with my car all by myself. Like, how cool did that feel, you guys? And what did you do, right? You got that burned CD of your favorite songs, right?
Britney
Or
Spears,
Britney Spears. Or remember when you used to get a tape?
I
I mean,
want to
okay,
be
this
a
is gonna
billionaire.
no, stop,
So
stop.
sorry.
His ADD is kicking in. You got a tape, like we're like aging ourselves that we even know this right now, but you get a tape and you'd record songs from the radio on this tape and then you'd play those songs in your car. Does anybody remember that? Tell me I'm not alone. Okay, so
You
let's
might be
go.
alone. I wasn't a part of that. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay, well, I'm the youngest in my family, so I have older brothers, and that's what we did.
Okay.
And so having that like that feeling though where you put in that one CD that has your favorite songs and you're like, "Oh my goodness, I love this song." And you like roll down your windows and you just feel like high on life, right?
Mhm.
Well, like we can still have that and it doesn't have to be a CD, it can be your emotional playlist. All these things I'm talking about like that give you those positive emotions, you can just hit play. Like take some deep breaths, go back to that place, right? Like whether it's finishing that workout and feeling optimistic and healthy, or whether it's like meeting your husband and knowing that you had those moments where you did feel understood and excited and you can bring those back. Like you can have faith in that. Is it always easy? No. But you can get back to that place, okay?
Can I finish with one more thing? Pastor Rick says, right? All we've come to is all we can do is pray, right? I hate when we hear that. It's something that's just been installed in my
We have to
head.
give a little more background. So
Okay.
like when people say, "Well, I guess all we can do is pray." Right? Like that's it. That's all we can do.
It's come to that. It's
It's
the end of the world. All we
yeah.
can do is pray now.
Like we have options. Like we can do this, you guys. Like it hasn't come to that. Oh, all we yeah, we need to pray,
Of
but
course.
we need to get quiet. We need to quiet our minds and tap into our hearts. And this is what I need you guys to know. And so resilience, we hear that word a lot and we think we just need to push through and be strong. And that's what it means to be resilient. But that's wrong. Resilience is something we all have inside of us. And the way we get it is like that resilience is this is the definition I want you guys to drill in your head is the amount of energy or that you have to prepare for, adapt to, or have in the face of challenge or difficulty in your life. Okay. Your ability to adapt when you're facing a challenge. So, what does that mean? It means how much energy you have stored inside of you. How do we get more energy? Well, our primary energy drivers are what?
Mhm.
Your emotions, positive emotions. So, this is why we start in order to gain clarity of where we are right now, because that is step number one for gaining clarity is figuring out, well, where am I right now? We need to get clear on that first. We can't be clear about our future and what that looks like if we don't get clear first on where we are in this moment right now. And so the first step to what we did is exactly what we just took you guys through. It is so important to really dive into our emotions, what's on our plate right now, what's going on, but what do we know that has brought us positive things? What do we know of all the good in our life? And they say, like, having gratitude is the opposite of being depressed,
Mhm.
right? And
You can't have gratitude and be depressed at the same time.
yeah. So, well, make that Pastor Rick was saying this morning, actually, on our daily hope, make a list of 20 things that you're grateful for.
Mm,
That might spark something inside of you that reminds you of all those positive emotions.
mm,
That's just one thing. But there's so many things in your life to this point that have given you that positivity. Like, sit with that for a minute. Don't give me some answer like, well, you don't know my life. No,
mhm,
if you have a roof over your head, shoes on your feet, like even people that don't, you
mhm,
know, they are grateful. They have positive emotions. They can go dance outside with their friends. They can go play catch. That might bring them they can talk with their friend. So think about those things in your life. There is so much more I want to talk about on clarity. I'm actually considering doing a little workshop because I've been talking to a lot of teams lately on this, and I walk them through this first part that we're just talking about here, and then I lead them into a whole nother exercise that allows us to focus on one problem and then get clear on that problem. And so if anybody is listening and interested, I want you to go ahead and send me a DM on Instagram and we will set up like a 1 hour clarity workshop where we can kind of go into this together and I can walk you through another exercise. It's a little bit hard to do on a podcast because I need to kind of see you and interact with you and explain it to you. So if you guys are listening and you're interested in doing that workshop, you can go ahead and DM me on my Life Without Secrets podcast Instagram page, which you can find in the show notes if you want to go there and find me on Instagram. And we can talk about that and set that up. So if I have enough people interested, I will set up a little mini workshop and we can dive into that together because I think it'd be really helpful for everybody.
I wanna be a part of
Of
it.
course, you're gonna be a part of it. So and we actually did you were already a part of it.
Uh-huh.
So, we did that. So, one of the problems I was having is I had all these different roles I was playing, like podcast host, ER nurse, speaking, running my course, and I was getting a little bit, like, lost in what role am I playing in our family goal? What does that look like big picture, like, 5 years from now? And how is what am I doing right now playing a prominent role in that? So we actually did make some changes in like the role. What is my role in that kind of bigger goal that we have? And what is his role? And what does that look like? And how do we get there? And what are the things that are most important to us in the meantime of while we're working towards that goal?
Mhm.
And so we did the process that I would love to do a workshop on. It's called heart mapping. And we did a brain dump exercise on the problem. And then we tapped into our hearts and got clear on, okay, what are the changes that we need to make right now? Like what is, and that was really powerful for putting together an action plan because once we figure out where we are, we can work on where we're going.
Mhm.
And so we've continued to do those steps and continue to kind of re-look at the plan,
Mhm.
continue the communication, what that looks like. And we are going to take you kind of through that process as we go here. And so we'll keep a line. My birthday is actually on Tuesday, August 27th. I'm sure you guys are going to listen to this after that
Mhm.
because we're recording it a few days before my birthday. But I think our birthdays are like another opportunity for us to just have a point of reassessment, right? It's kind of like when people do like their New Year's thing and like getting
Mhm.
clear about what their goals are for the year. Um, I like to do a check-in like mid-year. So that's why we did it in the beginning of July. That was like our mid-year check-in. What are the goals that we set out to accomplish this year? And are we closer to those goals or are we farther from those goals? And how do we readjust ourselves and our roles to make sure we hit those goals. or get closer to accomplishing those goals that we said we were going to do. If you set a goal in January and you haven't looked at it since and measured yourself, you're probably not going to get it. But if we take a constant look and have something that's measurable, we're more likely to hit those things and be willing to adjust. Maybe there is something that we need to give up in order to reach that goal that was
Hmm.
the big goal that you were trying to accomplish this year. And I'm not going to say that's easy to give stuff up, right? Like I'm very multi-passionate. So there is things where I'm like, man, like that's hard for me to give up. But if I know if my number one goal was to reach this over here, then that's something that I got to get clear on.
Hmm.
Yeah. Is there anything else on clarity that you had on your mind for today? So we did not prep or plan any of this conversation. It was like, what do you want to talk about? And I'm like, well, we've been doing our clarity sessions and I want to talk about clarity. So is there anything else on clarity that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I just reiterate what you started the podcast with, right? You put a blindfold on somebody, you spin them around, and you say, shoot at the target,
Mhm.
right? You'll never hit the target. You know what I mean? It's 1 in a million shot. It's like, it's impossible, the bullseye or whatever.
Mm.
So the idea is work on it, get clear on it. And ultimately, if you don't know your destination, how are you going to know the journey to? You got to know where you're at to know how to get to where you want to go as well. And realistically, find mentors, find people
Yeah.
that have done it, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. Like so many people just leading people astray, trying to take your money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, that is something so important that I've seen. And I'm just going to be honest, like full transparency here. One of the things that made me feel like my brain was so cluttered and confused during like that May area where I was having all those negative emotions and needing that clarity. One of the things that was really affecting me was I felt like there were so many people at that point coming to me and saying, "Oh, if you want to grow your business or if you want to do this, then you need to buy this." And it was like it was like a constant thing if I'm just being honest with everybody. And I will tell you this, there is tools that we need somebody that has led before, but we need that person to understand where we have been to and have done it, I think, before.
Hmm.
So that is a good tool. However, I will say that like when it comes to making the decision to like find those people that are mentoring you or leading you, like you will know inside of you whether that's a good choice. So get quiet, remove the clutter and get clear because we actually have the answers inside of us.
Don't listen to all the loud noises. Listen to the soft whispers, because
Yeah.
it comes from a divine power.
Yeah. I 100%. So we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Go find us on Instagram, connect with us. We hope you guys are enjoying the rest of your year this year. Reach out to us. Go to my website, lifewithoutsecrets.com. My magazine is on there. You can find my course on there. And we are here for you. So let us know what we can do. Until next time, we are sending you a giant hug.
Love you.
Hey there, it's Jillian from Life Without Secrets. Ever feel like you and your partner aren't quite on the same page? Well, you're not alone, and that's exactly why I created our latest issue of Truthful magazine. It's packed with insights and stories about bridging that gap and finding a deeper connection. We're diving into real conversations about needs, feelings, and how honest dialogue can rekindle that closeness that you've been missing. Why not explore this together? Go grab your free copy right now at lifewithoutsecrets.com and turn those pages into shared moments. Can't wait for you to dive in and share your thoughts with me.